Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 4 of TOT&HAM, the show where James and I talk about our respective clubs, Spurs, West Ham, week in, week out. Everybody knows we talk about them too much on the main Planet FPL podcast, so we do it here. How are you?
Don't want to fucking do it at all this week.
James is basically trying to pull out all of the excuses under the sun to not want to talk about Spurs. No pun intended, son, back in the team. About this weekend's results. Sniffly nose. I don't know, what's sort of the cat sick, dog sick.
I'm not going to lie. I'm fucking dying. And Spurs really didn't help me on Sunday.
Spurs didn't help a lot of people on Sunday with the armband on Harry Kane. But it got to 80 minutes and I thought, yeah, I'll just take my first captaincy blank just to see Spurs lose. Very, very interesting result. Now, the fallout from that, I want to know your take on the game. Obviously, you were there, topping up your tan in the direct sunlight.
Oh
this
God.
shiny £1 billion stadium doesn't have shade cover for you fans yet. Okay. The take on the game, but then also the fallout, because if you listen to the mainstream press and all of the news outlets out there, there's a massive question mark over Spurs at the moment.
What's the massive question mark?
Well, you've lost 11 out of your last 21 games.
Yeah.
This season, your first three quarters performance against Villa was not great, and you pulled it over the line. You've then gone and obviously had your arse handed to you by City, but that you can't read too much into it, and then have struggled to get across the line with Newcastle. Vertonghen is a question mark. No one knows why he's not playing. Christian Eriksen's not getting into the team, although the general consensus is, even though he is likely to leave before the end of the transfer window, if you put him on the pitch, he'll still put in 100% effort. And he's one of your better players and you need him, but he's not being started by Pochettino at the moment. And do I need to go on?
No. It's all reasonable.
Yeah, I think no one's saying doomed, but I think just the question.
The first thing, just go back in your mind to when we did the prediction pod from the correspondence, and I said how astonished I was that all but one of them said they thought Spurs would finish third.
Correct.
Do you remember what I said?
Fifth.
No, I said that I thought we'd finish top 4 and I thought we probably would finish third. But I didn't think it was cut and dry like that.
No.
And one of the stats I threw up was that from January the 1st, that second half of the league season, we would have finished 12th.
Yeah.
So
it was just that everybody else was doing so badly.
Obviously
a little bit.
There was all the change at Chelsea and Arsenal and United letting themselves down as well. Two of them haven't covered themselves in glory this weekend. United's result is no better than ours. No. This time last week, we were all going, Palace and Newcastle are going to be whipping boys.
Exactly.
And they've just won away to supposedly top 4 challengers, which I think says a lot about the Premier League. You are more likely to get mad-ass fucking results at this stage of the season than any other. But I'm not truly shocked.
The league table's interesting. There are 10 teams on 4 points and 5 teams on 3 points. So 15 teams separated by the point.
Yeah.
Which goes to show
there's only
that
two
everyone's
teams.
won one,
There's
lost one, drawn one.
2 teams that haven't won. That's it.
Yeah.
Watford and Wolves.
There are 4 teams unbeaten at the moment. I think Liverpool, Man City, Wolves haven't lost yet, and there was one other. Is it? I can't remember who.
No one cares.
Yeah. Brighton. No, not Brighton. Brighton. What happened to Brighton at the weekend?
I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah, I think it was Brighton. I can't
remember. Leicester haven't lost.
There you go. But it's very tightly packed from 5th down to 16th or 17th. So yeah, let's break out. Tell me about the game first.
Absolute disaster. I saw the team, and as soon as I saw the team, I thought we'd win, no problems, because it was everything I've been shouting for.
Mm-hmm.
So 4-2-3-1. I mean, yes, I would have picked Eriksen in that hole over Lamela, but other than that, it was pretty much what I'd expected once it was confirmed that Ndombele was injured. So unlike the Villa game where I said to you, honestly, like in that last 10 minutes, I knew we were going to win. I could have sat in that fucking sunshine for another couple of days and we wouldn't have scored. Mm-hmm. Like, we were miles off it. Must be said, maximum credit to Newcastle.
That's one of the problems when big teams, smaller clubs, smaller not in any negative way.
No, Newcastle aren't a small club, but
it's always the focus on Tottenham being shit as opposed to Newcastle being good, and you have to give them credit.
Oh, yeah. Neither Newcastle or Palace are seeing big credits for what they did at the weekend. And in Palace's case, they had a little bit of the run of the luck. And Newcastle deserved to win, just on the defensive performance.
Yeah.
In actual, if you just broke down chances in the game, Newcastle had as many as us, despite having 20% of the ball. It's the second highest ever since possessions have been recorded. Second highest ever not to win a game.
Okay. Similar to Inter Milan winning the Champions League with like 20%.
But we did absolutely nothing with that possession.
Was it sideways to the wing, couldn't penetrate the lines, no creative?
I looked at, because I wanted, it's baffled me a bit because this is how I wanted us to set up. And then we didn't really do it. So I looked back and tried to compare our performance with Norwich's the week before to see what was different.
Yep.
Did Norwich play any more direct balls in behind? Essentially, both sides set up exactly the same. 2 wide players in a 4-2-3-1 coming in to join the middleman to push on and almost make like a front 4, and then getting the 2 fullbacks really high up the pitch. There was next to no difference between Tottenham and Norwich's setup in the 2 games against Newcastle. The major change in the setup that was different was from Newcastle.
Of course, they're going to sit much deeper.
Well, yeah, no Shelvey and no Key. And then on paper, the setup looked more attacking, actually, with St. Maximin, who went off injured for Atsu early, and then Almiron, both of them in behind Joe Linton, who I thought hold-up play was very good, actually. He was a pain in the arse. I don't know if he'll ever be an FPL asset, but he was a pain, strong. But although despite on paper it looking a more attacking team, basically at Norwich they played kind of a 3-5-1-1. This was a blanket 5-4-1. Go and fucking break me down. And then when they won the ball back, the 2 in the wide areas would join in through the middle, and particularly Richie got into advanced areas on the left-hand side. But it was just go on and break us down. And we didn't have it. We have a major issue, for whatever reason, in believing that we will be good enough to break down teams like this in this kind of situation. And it's proven quite a lot now that we're not, because we don't have that creativity of Eriksen. It's well and good saying he didn't start. He came on with our foul to go, yes, he clearly obviously made a difference, like he did in the Villa game. But actually in half hour it should still be enough. It never really created a chance in the game.
Yeah.
So I'm not interested in all the fucking was it a penalty, wasn't it a penalty? I don't care. My opinion on it is it wasn't a clear and obvious mistake, so I'm happy to run with it. It's a massive letdown. Certain things at the weekend, like Harry Winks, who I said in pre-season would be massive for us. Huge disappointment at the weekend. I don't know if he played a ball in front of anybody for the whole fucking game.
Sometimes you have to just draw a line under it and move on.
But little things like that, playing the ball into feet so people are constantly having to wait for the ball to come to them, is slowing your tempo. Push the thing out in front of people. Like, I wondered if early on we should do things like keep it at the back and try and draw some possession and just play one into the channels over the top, just to turn them. Play a direct ball into Kane. It's not like he's bad in the fucking air. We just won't do it. That said, you look at the stats, we had about 40 crosses, and I think 6 of them were successful or something. Like, it's shocking, man. So,
is this a deeper Spurs problem? Some of us saying on Harry Kane. Harry Kane had a price rise and a price drop as quick as possible. Yeah. It's going to go up and down.
Not massively yet. I say so often about the creativity of Eriksen, which could go.
Yeah.
And obviously the movement of Ali.
Yeah.
He's
still a couple of weeks away.
Well, apparently he was closed for the weekend, so I wouldn't expect him to start the North London derby. But there's people just come into that, like Lo Celso's obviously not fit. Yeah, he played the last half hour. There was nothing to be seen other than the lovely reverse pass he played for Kane. Sessegnon to come back into it. Obviously, no one Ndombele at the weekend, which I said to a few people at the live show, I had my suspicions about if he was even injured and it was just fatigue and he might have just left him out and it was less of a hassle to say, oh, he's got a slight knock. So expect him to play again against Arsenal. The whole Vertonghen thing, I've got no explanation. Literally none. With the Eriksen thing, I think we can all understand that he wants to go.
Yeah.
Like, Vertonghen's give no impression that's the case. Like, if anybody thinks Alderweireld is better than Vertonghen, I'm telling you, you're wrong. Like, Vertonghen is the balance he gives us as the left footer out there as well.
Just to bring it to FPL for people, we'll talk about it more on the main show as well. You're sitting on Moura and Kane. Any thoughts to make any moves on either of those? I've still got Harry Kane. You're away at Arsenal this weekend. Who's your game after that?
Palace at home.
At home, and it's these home fixtures like Newcastle that we wanted Kane really for. I don't think it's a justifiable transfer for me right now. Arsenal away, Palace at home to be moving away from Harry Kane. I'm assuming you're going to stay on him as well. Maybe Mora might be the one to get the chop.
I'd said pre-weekend that the plan was probably to move on Mora. I might even go into this weekend with both. Mora had, the best of the chances at the weekend. Really should have equalised with the one real big chance in the second half. I'll probably move Mora on. There's a number of players under consideration, like Mason Mount, even coming down to Cantwell, moving the formation. I've not overly thought about it too much. Kane, no thoughts to come off. Literally zero. I don't have any concerns. The next three are not pretty, but he has an amazing record in North London derbies. He has a very good record in London derbies. And he also has a bit of a soft spot for scoring against Leicester as well, which is game week 6. And then you're walking into other very, very pretty fixtures after Leicester away. So,
write it out.
Yeah. Harry scored 2 in 3. Right, if he plays 38 games, what's he going to get here? 26 plus goals. Kind of where we expect him to be, right? Is it a big deal?
He's not
going to return. He's not going to return all the time. I feel like in a roundabouts way, this result at the weekend or right now, it's as lowest I've felt about a Spurs result in a long time. That includes Champions League final result, because that's just deflating losing like that. You don't see it coming. It might be a blessing in an odd way.
Harry scored 2 in 3. He's also, depending on how you look at it, say he scored 2 in 6 minutes and then nothing. So it really is 6 of one, half a dozen of another. There we go. I'm not going to...
I think on Kane, like people say it all the time, dropping into midfield. When we had our best little period of the game, which was 5 or 10 minutes before half-time, it was Kane dropping into a deeper position. And the reason he did that is through no managerial instructions, through him going, I need to go and find the ball. Do you know why he's going to find the ball? Because he's the most creative fucking player in the team. People just seem to get lost on that. I looked at his heat maps for the last few seasons, dating back to the 16-17 season when we pushed Chelsea and everyone was like, he's in the box. Go and look at his heat maps for the last 4 seasons. Nothing's changed. There's no change in him. It grates me a bit because he's always dropped deep. It's just now is just so much more of a focus on it.
Yeah.
You talk about West Ham, it's a nice positive, isn't it?
Watford, West Ham. So now over the last 2 games, an aggregate 7-2 at their stadium. I obviously didn't watch the game. It was the 3 o'clock game, but I watched the extended highlights. It came across as one of those games that as a fan at the stadium, I'd have probably hated to be there because it was really scruffy, end-to-end, chances galore.
XG was mental in the game.
Like, if Watford had won that 3-1, it would have been just as justified as us winning 3-1.
No, you deserved to win.
Probably, yeah.
No,
but
you did.
Blondie, Will Hughes had
wow, what a
great
miss.
chance to finish. Andre Gray could have scored another couple. We had a couple of chances we could have scored. It was one of those end-to-end kind of games. And as a fan, you don't know where you're coming or going. But at the end of the day, we ended up pulling it out of the bag. And Haller is now the talk of the town with his 2 goals. The number of people tweeting me, asking me if he's the real deal. I haven't been listening to the show fucking for the last 3 or 4 weeks where I've said he is. So
before you sold him.
Before I sold him, but there's more to that. There's Pookie, obviously, he was only 2 points behind him at the weekend, 2 or 3, and has gone up by 0.2 in value since I've owned him, where Haller hasn't. So I'm still cool with that decision. I'm just glad that he's justified my faith in him and in the team. But his link-up play was good. He's proved that he can finish now. We just want to see that consistently. Like, if he gets 15 goals this season, he's a striker we've wanted for like 20 years.
What do you think about the changes at the weekend?
I've always liked Yarmolenko. He's very direct. The only issue with Yarmolenko is you know what he's going to do. He's going to cut in on his left foot. He is. Is there a more one-dimensional player than Yarmolenko with his left foot? I'm not sure. But he hit a couple of shots cutting in from the right, which were pretty decent. Felipe back. Let's talk about the change that probably brought joy to your heart. Jack Wilshere to the bench, and on comes Mark Noble. I think that just that level of leadership and drive.
I don't give a shit. I would rather Jack Wilshere played.
I think your bank balance will versus Shaq.
I'm not worried about my bank balance. He might as well pay me now.
But Noble provides leadership that maybe Wilshere doesn't, and that drive.
I bet you, on a serious, I bet you Declan Rice is a lot happier with Mark Noble.
Yeah.
I'll bet money
Wouldn't surprise me at all. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But it makes me start to think now, what will happen when Noble does eventually retire and can't play, because that's going to be quite a hole to fill in there. Just not just from a playing point of view, because he's an okay player, but it's more the leadership.
Was Wilshere sub at the weekend? Was just out.
He wasn't even on the bench.
I was in.
So I think he was injured. He obviously played only half the game last week, and he wasn't even on the bench. So who knows where he is? He's in the same place as Vertonghen, question mark territory. But yeah, so Noble came in. Obviously, Agbona still looks shaky at the back. Diop pulled out a few decent saves. And Fredericks' pace always gets him out of trouble, Mr. Crapid.
There was a moment in the game that really caught my eye. It was actually Watford's equaliser. If you watch it back, it's really interesting because they break quite quickly on you. And the distance between your back four plus Noble and Rice, who got themselves back in, the distance between your back six and your front four was, no word of a lie, was about 40 yards gap. At the point of the goal, where the other four were just about getting back into your half.
Yeah.
And Noble, is screaming at them, mate.
Yeah.
And they didn't really have a counter like that again after the game. And that's what it'll bring you as well, is the leadership. Like people said it questioning about Spurs, and I think it's fair enough. Like, who's going to be screaming at people for things like that and saying, where are you? What's your positioning? Why aren't you tracking back? I've always taken the piss out of Noble, but I would never question him for that.
No, his ability.
He's a leader.
He loves the club, and he's that guy. A few people from West Ham have put their hand up from an FPL point of view. Lanzini's been talked about by a number of people, experienced FPL managers.
A penalty? I've not heard anybody question it. I've watched it about 20 times. I'm not sure if there's contact.
I don't know. Soft VAR is checking these things now, isn't it?
But they're not overturning nothing anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Lanzini's been talked about since the start of the season. I think he's still a decent option. He's kind of ticking along, much in the way of Callum Wilson is at the moment. Like, you're thinking, okay, 3 5s in a row, am I going to sub him out? But he's returned every game. So yeah, obviously Haller has put his hand up. I'm not going to be moving back to Haller yet. I feel like I've got other things I want to fix, which we'll probably talk about on the main show, which is big at the back, maybe. We can talk about that. So Haller put his hand up, and Lanzini's obviously put his hand up. Defensively, if you're looking at West Ham, you're still bonkers. You're head checking, and Pookie will definitely score 2 goals this weekend. It's just whether or not we can score more. Yeah, defensively, if you're looking at us, you're stupid. But Lanzini's definitely a shout, and Haller are definitely a shout. They're priced well for what they're going to give you. And our fixtures are good, right?
Yeah, waiting. Because the flip side of some of the credit, obviously, Norwich have had, they obviously go to you at the weekend, is defensively is shit, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is, I'm going to be there on Saturday. This has all the hallmarks of a fucking 4-4 or something, doesn't it? So I'll be up for it. I think the crowd
it wouldn't be a surprise if you won 3-0 comfortably at the weekend. It also wouldn't be a shock if they went there and turned you over like 2-1 or something.
Yeah, that's the fun and games of being a West Ham fan. But I was happy to see Haller score. I think that was the biggest takeaway. And Anderson was talking very positively after the game. He enjoyed being creative and the chances and what have you. Watford, on the other hand, 3 defeats. Gracia, first manager to get fired.
There was some talk Sunday morning that they were already looking at a replacement, which kind of by late last night had calmed back down, and people were saying, nah, it's rubbish. But it's 7 defeats in a row now, if you date back to last season.
Not looking good.
Well, considering the history of them as well, they'll quickly forget like the cup final and all that, but obviously kind of does date back to the Wolves semi-final win where they're in trouble, and you just even forget the result, just looking and going, right, you've had 2 home games, Brighton and West Ham, you conceded 6. That's fucking worrying.
Very worrying.
They changed the system, didn't make much difference. Yeah, they had plenty of chance, and yeah, look, if Will Hughes scores at 1-1, like God knows how does he miss.
Yeah.
But you deserve to win. So that's concerning for them. Just on the Spurs, for the weekend, obviously it's the derby at the weekend. The last few years we've gone there with a big expectation that we're going to turn them over, and I've got beat fairly comfortably twice in a row, 4-2 and 2-0 the year before. Going into the game this week, everyone's going to expect Arsenal to win.
Yeah, I would say Arsenal are clear favourites this weekend, especially with their front 3. Pepe's really warming up a little bit now.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Underdogs.
I'm okay with that.
But yeah, on paper right now, Arsenal definitely look favourites for that game.
Yeah, I won't
They're
argue
still
that.
suspect at the back. They're still suspect at the back. And if there's a team that's going to let you guys in, with Son
There'll
and
be
Moura,
a lot tactically in the game. But you might see both teams play different systems in each half. Because I think
you need to take the game to them.
they have Emery and Pochettino do have a very good relationship with each other. Like, they really respect each other, and they are constantly trying to outmaneuver each other. It's felt in the battles last season. I would say certainly in the league games, Emery came out tactically on those, but Pochettino did in the League Cup game when Arsenal predicted a much stronger lineup than we'd expected, and Spurs didn't and still won. So I don't know, like, bring it on. Like, it needs to hurry up and just come round.
What's the game? Is it a Sunday game?
Sunday, 4:30, yeah.
4:30, so that'll be nice and televised. I'll have a beer and watch that for sure. And ours is the Saturday game, followed by an international break.
Oh, fucking hell, Suj, you're really bringing it up.
They've brought them up. It's come around quick, though. It's really come around quick.
I really don't need to get beat Sunday off the back of that, and then Newcastle, and then have the international break. You might not see me on the other side.
Cool. That's it for Tottenham episode 4. A quick rundown on the Newcastle game and what we've got coming up with the derby for Tottenham this weekend. We're playing Norwich this weekend. We're recording tonight the main show. Plenty to discuss on the main pod, transfers and what have you. Are you sitting on 1 or 2 transfers? 1. Myself as well. No, 2. I didn't make my second transfer this week. And I've got 4 or 5 options that I'm potentially thinking about, so it'll be good to chat those through.
You'll either do nothing
as well,
burn a transfer, or do a minus.
I'm not going to burn a transfer for sure. Perez is on his way out for Maddison. It's one of those where I can make 1 move now, or I can make 3 moves and completely remodel my team and potentially get Kevin De Bruyne.
Are you just sneak preview tonight? Are you ditching the big 5 at the back?
Okay, going back to what stat you used about Harry Kane, right? 2 goals in 3. We've had 1 clean sheet in 6 out of City and Liverpool.
Yeah.
If they both clean at the weekend, which is Liverpool at Burnley and
City at home to Brighton,
which you'd really think they should, then you're talking 3 from 8. Then it's nearly 50% clean sheets, and that's what we were hoping for, right? 50% clean sheets, give or take.
Yeah, it's not far off. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to hold out for another week. But after this week, if there's no clean sheets again, then I'm going to be really looking to wildcard and potentially overhaul. Because at 50%, at this point, they can catch up to roughly 50% clean sheets, which will do for me. And this is a weekend, Brighton and Burnley, that they should be keeping clean sheets.
I don't know, man. Like Brighton, we talked about Brighton a bit. It was unfortunate again at the weekend, and Burnley were very unlucky not to win at Wolves.
Yeah. But this is Liverpool and City,
we're very unlucky to lose
who are
at Arsenal.
leagues above everybody else.
Yeah,
so
of course.
they should be keeping clean sheets in these. These are the games that you'd expect.
Well, City particularly at the weekend.
Yeah, that was sloppy for them again.
Well, it's just a great free kick, wasn't it? In fairness, it's like he put it on a sixpence. Yeah. Harry Wilson, he's scored the most goals from outside the box in English football this calendar year, Harry Wilson.
Interesting.
I think he showed why.
There are so many players emerging at the moment at 6, 7, 8 million the choices are endless.
Yeah, James, Mount, Harry Wilson. Yeah, there's a few
Maddo's not much more expensive at 7 million. And it's like, ooh.
British talents as well,
yes,
worth saying.
And it is nice to see. Guys, thanks for tuning in to Tot and Ham. We'll wrap it up there, James.
Yeah,
we'll be back this week. We've still got our Sky Fantasy Football show coming at you. Harry Kane captain in that, didn't you? I had Sterling this week, so that caught me up a little bit.
Probably more captain Van Dijk over Salah on a Saturday.
Yeah, I had Van Dijk.
Won't make that mistake again.
Yeah, true. So we've got that for you as well. We've got Clash of the Correspondents. Tell everybody who's on this week, just while you can.
We got Sean at Spirit Blues and Bradley Parker at Parker_Bradley, our Everton and Wolves correspondents, ahead of the other fascinating game on Super Sunday.
Yeah, it really is. Wolves did so well in Europe and unbeaten in the league. Everton were going good guns until Friday night. So that'll be a good, interesting chat as well. And then the final plan on Friday before the weekend.
Cool.
Ciao for now.
Cue music, man, child.
Messi,